Welcome to Info Insight. I'm Miles Eversley. Thanks for joining us. On the 21st of April 2023, the National Transformation Initiative, in partnership with the Barbados Bottling Company and the Coca-Cola Caribbean System, launched the Growing Together Business Training Program. Aimed at traditional shop operators and itinerant vendors, the program offers the opportunity for the broadening of knowledge and the enhancement of skills related to business ownership and management. In this program, we bring you the proceedings from the launch of the initiative. Master of Ceremonies Vic Fernandes opened the ceremony.
You know, there are not too many things on a Friday afternoon that could pull me away from my lunchtime lime at Golden Sands Hotel, sometimes with a member or two of the cabinet. I'm not sure if the Prime Minister is aware of that, but anyhow, I won't tell on them. But the opportunity to be Master of Ceremonies at an event that Prime Minister Motley is attending is something that I always like to put on my CV, you know, how many times I have had the opportunity to introduce her. And of course, all of you other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my colleague, Dr. Leacock, and my dear friend, Andre Thomas. So when Andre reached out to me and asked me, I told him I would be happy to do it, especially when he told me how many the names of the people that were in the lineup. And I certainly want to welcome all of you and encourage all of you who are here today, who are small business people, small entrepreneurs. All of us were, well, I was small one time, but we're not only talking physical. But we grew our businesses and sometimes we failed. I want to tell you that I know many of you who know me may think that I have been successful, but I've also traveled the road of failure on many occasions. I have failed spectacularly at some things that other people succeeded at. I failed as a car rental operator. I failed as a farmer. I failed as an agriculturalist. I bought a big piece of land up in St. John, and I was farming bananas and coconuts. I had two magnificent occasions, the day I bought it and the day I sold it. And in between was pure horrors along the way. So I commend people who go into farming and who stick with it. And there are other things that I could point to that along the way that I did not succeed at. But I stuck to the job at hand and I kept moving forward and I tried to learn something from every failure. So today you may be small, but and you may even be small by name, but tomorrow you can grow and you can expand. And I could think of several successful businesses in Barbados that grew spectacularly. I remember my friend Neville Rowe, and when he had a little one-door shop down in Baxter's Road, and he used to come to me and he would discuss things with me. I did all of his ads for him over all of the years. We went into St. Lucia, and I remember they said that they brought me to St. Lucia to terrorize St. Lucians because of the marketing campaign that we ran. And when we opened that supermarket in St. Lucia, it was just, we had to call in the police because they could not cope with the crowds on a daily basis. So, you know, his journey started out very small, and he built it till the name and the brand Julien became a household name in Barbados. And every one of you today have the capacity to do so. But anyhow, I'm not a guest speaker. And so let me stop there now and introduce Mr. Adrian Green, who is well known in Barbados as a spoken word poet. And so, Adrian, would you come and entertain the audience for us, please?
This afternoon, I am going to risk failure by doing something new because I am a member of the National Transformation Initiative. And this is an important occasion for us because we believe that transformation, national transformation, rests on a multitude of personal transformations, and personal transformation rests on the national culture, on national transformation. Therefore, it is for us a truism that the only way to grow is together. And we face a number of issues that have the potential to rip us asunder. Issues like race, class, color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, political, cultural, social divisions, and then not to mention a global economic system an inequitable international regime, and then on top of these, we have a berriffle of non-communicable diseases. Won't make you say Jesus. We even face pressure from the weather. So whether we like it or not, we are in this together in this 166 square mile cohobla pot of people with a population of over 250,000 packed together inside of a sport-size sedan or economy model vehicle with visiting passengers in tow on tour. They say that the hardest thing is to know, and then you got to know for sure, and then you got to know better. We have a saying at the National Transformation Initiative that you are never too good to get better. And the only way, or the best way to get better and grow is together. So if you feel that breaking for yourself is the way to go, I don't know what to tell you. You might feel that that's hardcore, but for us, that ain't even taking a 6 for a 9, that's taking an H for a 4. And it just shows that another area of transformation is social cohesion and community spirit, which we have to restore. You know, one time in Barbados, we used to talk about we model in Singapore. Sometimes to me, it's feeling nowadays we want to model Baltimore by way of NYC or Miami, loitering on neo-colonial doorsteps after closing time, aspirationally. Chasing another nation's dream don't make sense to me. We are unique. We have a unique heritage, a unique history, a unique culture, a unique society. They used to call we gem of the Caribbean. We are a diamond in the rough forged under the pressure of plantocratic tectonic plates and gases. And now we're trying to find our way and mine our way into the future, into a future that is sustainable and world class. Whatever world class means, that remains to be seen, but we have to see clearly that if we are going to write our names on history's page, we have to learn to read between the lines and glean the wisdom and knowledge to know the times and understand that the only way to grow is together. Even though sometimes it seems easier to scatter when things get hard, distrust, discard, and turn on one another, but Barbados small and Bajans, we got to be smarter because when one person's house is burning, everybody's house is in danger. Truth is stranger than fiction, and history is more intriguing than myth. And the story of this nation will be epic if we recognize and internalize this, that the critical mission critical of the past 300 years has been resist, survive, and transform through learning, unlearning, training, and shifting gears so that we will no longer have to fear and be uncertain in our own homeland like squatters. Whether man-made or natural, it is not the disaster, it is the response that matters. And a nation that can respond as one will haunt any of its monsters. So the mindset that we want every set to set in this new era is, whether in times of plenty or in times when we're going through the grigor, is that we will band together, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, and push and go through together, because the only way to grow is together. On behalf of the National Transformation Initiative and the team, thank you very much.
I want to introduce next Mr. Andre Thomas, the General Manager of Coca-Cola. And I want to say that in accepting this invitation, the only payment I wanted was to ensure that I could get some Coke, no sugar, and be able to enjoy it away from the peering eyes of my wife. So it's my go-to beverage, and I have one that's half empty already, and I hope to complete the job before I leave. I have to say it's a spectacular drink. I enjoy it tremendously because I still don't believe that it has no sugar in it. That's the honest truth, you know. It really tastes good, you know. So, Andre, thank you very much for inviting me here and providing me with the after-lunch beverage this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the General Manager of Barbados Bottling Company Limited, Mr. Andre Thomas.
On behalf of Barbados Bottling Company Limited, I'd like to thank you for joining us at this Growing Together launch program. It's our inaugural program focused on strengthening the small business sector in Barbados. So the Barbados Bottling Company Limited serves as the Coca-Cola bottling operation for the country. While Coca-Cola has been in Barbados for the last 75 years, this company today that we know as BBC was born 5 years ago when we acquired BBC from Banks Holdings Limited. Our most important partner are our customers, a vital economic engine for thousands of families across Barbados. As economic engines, they serve generations of Bajans, helping to refresh and nourish families, providing essential jobs and serving as hubs for financial empowerment. With over 1,200 customers, these traditional shops have always served as the primary livelihood for these families, passing them down from generation to generation and preserving the tradition of shops' legacies and traditions. They are partners in bringing quality beverages to tens of thousands of homes, and we appreciate and honor our relationship with them. In Barbados, small businesses were hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all were. Large companies, small businesses, every individual were hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. And this Growing Together program actually was born out of our discussions within the Coca-Cola system of what can we do to help our small business community in not only Barbados, but this program was done in the Dominican Republic, and it's being done in Trinidad, and our plan is to launch it in the rest of the Caribbean as well. At our company and throughout the Coca-Cola system, we are committed to investing in these businesses and providing resources to support the ongoing success. With the Growing Together Small Business Program, we will reach 1,500 small businesses, 1,000 traditional stores, and in a previous meeting, the Prime Minister had asked us to include what we usually call itinerant vendors. So although we don't sell a bottle to a coconut vendor or a fruit man or a vegetable vendor, we still want to include them in this training because that's our commitment to Barbados. With this program, these small businesses will bring successful enterprises to the next level and expose new generations of owners and employees to innovation and 21st century business models. In the future, the Growing Together program will be supported by other partnership initiatives that will strengthen our small business network.
Throughout my long career as a broadcaster, I benefited on a number of occasions from various training initiatives, none by the National Transformation effort led by Dr. Leacock, but there's still room for that. There's still time for that. I benefited through the BBC, and I benefited through an attachment to 610 Radio in Trinidad. I'm dating myself a little bit more there. But one of the things before going to Trinidad, I always did was to stick very closely to the things that I felt comfortable with and not to venture outside of the boundaries of the things that I felt some discomfort with. I left those alone. When I was leaving Trinidad after a year, my dear friend, the late David Elcock, who I rate as one of the best morning men ever in radio, said to me, you know, I noticed something about you, Vic. You tend to stick to the things that you're comfortable with. And I, on the other hand, like to try everything. And I want to say to you that he says you're a good broadcaster, but you can become a great broadcaster if only you would expand some of your horizons and not stick so slavishly to the things that you're comfortable with. And he recommended that I took up MCing and also that I get involved in promotions. I reflected on his words when I was on my way back to Barbados and realized that what he was saying had some measure of truth. And so soon after coming back to CBC Barbados, I then ventured out and decided I was going to become a promoter and an MC. And I almost never made it to this lectern because my first job was to go and tell a rather hostile crowd at the Globe Cinema that the show was canceled. And I suspect if it wasn't me, that I might have been some things may have been thrown at me that would not have been good for me. And would you believe that the show was a show that involved the great Eddie Grant and his band, The Equals? That date was September 3rd, 1986. I had the misfortune of scheduling that show the day after a spectacular election victory by the Barbados Labour Party led by JMGM Tom Adams, 1976, sorry. And Barbados was in a celebratory mode that day after the DLP had been in power for 15 years, and nobody was really coming to any show, Eddie Grant or anybody else the following night, because they were partying from the night before. And so my career as an MC almost did not come to full bloom. I am delighted, however, that I kept with it and I was able to succeed and continue in both categories and achieve some measure of competence. When we speak of competence in Barbados in broadcasting, Alison Leacock has to be the gold standard. Dr. Leacock, don't blush because you know it's true. She has been an amazing broadcaster and has set a standard that I don't think anybody else has yet been able to scale. And in all that she has done, excellence has always been the hallmark. So, leading this National Transformation Initiative on training, I am sure that she will continue to set the bar high. And ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to welcome her, my dear friend and colleague of many years, Dr. Alison Leacock.
Mission transformation, as the name suggests, is at the center of who we are at the NTI. It's difficult to follow Adrian Green with his eloquence, but he has captured very much the essence of the counterpoint and the delicate balance that we at NTI have to walk, because we understand the importance of the skills and competencies that we all want to achieve, but we recognize that there's also a mind shift, and that's, as we would say in Barbados, that's the Godi-giving work, because that takes a little bit more. What we have sought to do at the NTI is to indeed transform each of us as Barbadians. We've sought to do it through technology, innovation, and collaboration by creating learning opportunities that value the reality that each of us learns differently, and that we can learn in our unique ways without judgment. We also do that while placing at the center of our work the importance of active citizenship, the need for us to create a space for our creatives that moves them beyond entertainment, because they are, in fact, our conscience as a society. And also by promoting inclusion and equality for people with disabilities, because without any of those dimensions, we feel we are falling short of being really world class. So we are building enduring skill development, strong national identity through other programs that are helping us to face the future. And this partnership targets another really important group that very much ensure that we keep it real. So with your experience, as well as the skills that you are going to achieve through this training, we encourage you to ask yourself 3 questions. How durable is my skill? How easy is it to acquire? And what boost will this skill give me? As Andre mentioned, 6 months ago, we began the conversation, and we went through many iterations, but it is in fact 6 months exactly to the day that we had our first Zoom call. And so this is wonderful that we could in fact launch it today. Each training cohort will be for 4 weeks, and each session will be about an hour and a half. And I wanted to give you a 50-cent tour of the landing page that was designed by our creative team at TAP New Media. You'll be able to see the landing page itself that has a registration format for both businesses that are existing customers of the BBC, as well as our vendors with their unique code. As I scroll down, you'll see that you will be able to choose the time. There was a survey done to ensure that we captured and scheduled the training at a time that suited the people we're trying to train. So it's Mondays from 9 to 11, Wednesdays from 11 to 1, or from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. As we scroll down, it gives you a description of what is Growing Together. It underscores who it's for: our traditional shops, mini-marts, itinerant vendors, whether it's food and beverage or fruit or indeed coconut vendors. I think we have a coconut vendor joining us this afternoon, so we're very happy to have you here with us. The topics that we will be covering, we will open the sessions to orient all of our learners to the NTI mindset for upskilling and indeed e-learning. And that session, Transforming You and Growing Together, will precede the first module, Small Business Ownership and Being a Micro-Entrepreneur. The second module, Enhancing My Business Through Customer Service. The third, Small Business Finances. The fourth, Attracting Customers and Generating Value for My Business. The fifth, Applying Innovation for Business Growth. And the sixth and final module, Naturally Refreshing the World and Making a Difference, complements of the Coca-Cola Caribbean system, and that is going to be a self-directed module. The format we will use will be the NTI Zoom platform, and each of the sessions will be a virtual instructor-led session. That means each will have an instructor at Zoom engaging with the trainees. The advantage of this, of course, is the flexibility and the convenience for busy people who have to schedule based on when they may be downtime in their businesses. So this just gives you an overview. For each of the modules, we have curated, thanks to our Coursera team led by Marcel Greenidge, our Assistant Director for Coursera, and they have identified the courses that can complement the subject matter in each course, in each of the modules. And with that, each trainee can go ahead and do their own private enhancement so that they really ace the training that is being done in the 4 weeks. So it is 4 weeks. However, the program will last for a year, so there will be different cohorts throughout the year. And we have a list of frequently asked questions here that will allow trainees to find out for themselves anything that they want to. And these are just a snapshot of some of the Coursera courses that complement what we do. Of course, NTI has its e-learning teams. We have our facilitators, and we will ensure that the trainees are fully engaged. We're well aware that it makes no sense to be taking colds to Newcastle. So we are going to be approaching things in a way that allows engagement, interaction, and ultimately success for all of those. There is no silver bullet that exists for driving the change that we're trying to drive in our country, building resilience, or being future forward. But these kinds of exercises provide us with the tools that will enable us to navigate the one thing that is very uncertain about our future everywhere, all the time. But once we have the tools, we can manage it. So we look forward to a successful session, and we thank Coca-Cola for approaching us to be partners with you on this excellent initiative for our small businesses and our vendors. Thank you very much.
President of the Barbados Association of Retailers, Vendors and Entrepreneurs, Alistair Alexander, was among the featured speakers at the launch. He insisted that transformative approaches are key to enhancing the small business and vending sectors.
We must not settle for anything that cannot deliver transformation. So our major objective here has to be the equipping of our sector with the right tools to bring about actual transformation, which is the goal. I would like to pause in my remarks to refer to an article I wrote for the Barbados Business Authority in October 2012. pay attention to the year. And you will see that this article not only rightly prophesied the saving role the vending sector would play in a crisis, but tells how long has been Barven's dream of such initiatives as this present administration is making reality. At this point in time of our history, we in this socially significant business sector are looking to go to the next economic level, are collectively crossing over, and Barven thanks all involved in this initiative for preparing us the vehicles to do so on. If we are serious about this business of transformation, it cannot be business as usual. This is where this training program comes into play. Every market, every vending space must have a progressive business model and plan. We vendors have long packed and pray, but the time has come for us not only to pack and pray, but pack and plan too. This business training will help us to pack and plan for ultimate success.
Public Affairs, Communication and Sustainability Manager for Coca-Cola Caribbean, Lydia Castro, spoke of the meetings that preceded the program's launch and the benefits that can be derived through the cooperation of civil society and the public and private sectors.
I'm honored to be here today at this launch event of Growing Together with Coca-Cola, a program that started in a conversation months ago with Prime Minister Motley at Ilaro Court, where she invited us to put into action our collective capacity to transform and help shape the best vision. As we recognize together the immense value that traditional trade stores, small businesses, and itinerant vendors bring to societies all over the region. This program is an example of how the Caribbean can forge national alliances in favor of economic and social strengthening of its countries when there is collaboration among the private sector, academia, government, and society. We reaffirm our commitment to promote the development of the communities in which we operate, and Growing Together with Coca-Cola is an initiative that contributes significantly to the prosperity of the region by promoting the economic empowerment of these small and very important entrepreneurs. As I say, small but mighty, as a stimuli for growth to support our value chain in the process of economic stability. Barbados has made important efforts to achieve a rapid economic recovery. And from the Coca-Cola system, we want to contribute to take it to the next level. We are on board Mission Transformation. And we believe that one of the ways to do so is with this initiative that seeks the development and the growth of traditional mom-and-pop stores, small businesses, itinerant vendors, coconut vendors, fruit vendors, which are key players in the local economy, but also a vital social component of the identity and culture of the Barbados. With the collaboration of the National Transformation Initiative, Growing Together with Coca-Cola will help all participants strengthen their businesses and personal development with pragmatic and engaging world-class knowledge, specifically related to operating their stores with standards of excellence. We understand the hard work and the dedication it takes to build and sustain a small business, so we look forward to seeing the positive impact that this program will have on businesses and communities. I am certain that in the next months, we will rejoin again, all of us together, in celebrating with great pride graduations for hundreds who conclude the program successfully.
The event's keynote address was delivered by Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honourable Mia Amor-Motley. The Prime Minister expressed satisfaction with the launch of the Growing Together program, thanked those involved in its establishment, and encouraged Barbadians to take advantage of the opportunities provided by the National Transformation Initiative.
You know, it is a good thing when a plan comes together. And there's nothing like seeing it come together. Andre, Lillian, we both agreed that last year when we met to discuss a range of issues. And out of that came a recognition that it was through the building of partnerships that we can help in the transformation necessary to get through this very difficult time that the world finds itself in. It's not business as usual. And if it is not business as usual, as I explained in my budget speech last month, it has to be about transforming ourselves to make us fitter and better for purpose. Adrian, there is no way that I can even compete with you with the mastery of words to be able to communicate in Beijing what Beijians need to hear, to give Beijians the confidence and the competence to be able to grow together, to care together, and to ensure that when we fail, we are able to get back up. I want to thank you, Dr. Leacock, and the rest of the National Transformation Initiative. And why? Because even before we launched formally Mission Transformation last month, we understood that that was the journey. But regrettably, we have been distracted by events not of our own making all, but requiring our attention and our mastery in order to reach this point. As we speak, the Deputy Prime Minister announced this morning restrictions on water usage because, like with other countries across the world, there is an issue with respect to groundwater for many, many countries, and it is compounded further by the absence of sufficient precipitation for the recharging of aquifers. That is made worse by the coastal degradation, erosion, that leads to the possibility of salt water going into aquifers and its impact of destroying those resources for the future. I paint this picture not to frighten anybody, but to tell us that if we don't prepare to be resilient and prepare to make it our business to do things differently, then we will be victims of circumstances that we don't need to be victims of. This government has therefore had to recognize that we have to innovate in order to be responsive. When the pandemic hit, there was no structure that could allow us in our architecture, social security and financial architecture, to support small businesses and self-employed people for whom simply the restriction on movement meant $0. The government created a business interruption benefit that we asked Fund Access to be able to distribute for us in order to be able to provide some level of cushion to small businesses in this country. When it became clear that our history had to be honored, and I'm not talking now from this position as government, and Alistair's memory may be long enough to corroborate what I'm saying. Because the commitment which I made to the vending class, I did not make as Prime Minister, but I made from the time that I was Minister of Culture and then as Attorney General. And it was done then because this country was built by the hard work and sacrifice of hundreds of thousands of people, generation after generation, making a way for themselves, their families, and their communities by finding a way out through entrepreneurship. The irony and paradox is that the colonial structure which helped frame us did everything to tell us that failure was a reason to stop. When in truth and in fact, failure, as you heard from Vic, is just part of the experience necessary to be better at the next thing that you do. And in our own lives, we know from a child that if you fall down when learning to walk, what do? You get back up. The bottom line is that life is about experiences. And every experience has a teaching mechanism in it. And we have to be strong enough not to allow ourselves to wallow in failure, but to be strong enough to learn from it and to build from it. Mission transformation is fundamentally about changing our attitudes and our values. If we change our values and our attitudes and get it right, the other things will come. The other things will come. And we have to be able to understand what is important to building trust and to making progress. We must be accountable. Fancy word, own up. Simple, own up. Not everybody's perfect. Not me, not you, not non-single human being on this earth. Perfection belongs to divinity, to the divine. So at every point, you can always know that something at some point is going to cause you to fall below the standard that you expect to be. And if when that happens, look into the mirror first and foremost and own up to yourself, and then look and own up to the people who may have been impacted as a result of it. Secondly, to thine own self be true. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Not each of us is strong in everything, but there is a treasure and a strength in each of us. And it is how we unlock it and how we shape it. Adrian spoke about the diamonds in the rough. Diamond is rough, rough, rough. Look bad when it starts. But when it finishes, how it look? Pretty, pretty, pretty. And we have to be patient enough with ourselves first, but with those with whom we interact, be it family, be it our work colleagues, or be others. And we won't always get it right, but we must strive each day to make it right. We have to prepare to plan. Because without plans, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to understand what obstacles may come in our way and what attributes we have that we can leverage to get through difficult times, from relationships to skills to institutions to systems. And in a very small way, this structured training program for rum shop owners, fancy word, vendors and hawkers, mini-mart owners, small business people, cook shop people. This is for you. Because when I go into a room with the Barbados Private Sector Association, and I've said this to you, Alistair, I continue to be disappointed that when we talk about the private sector in Barbados, we talk only about the established larger enterprises, rather than understanding that from the hawkers and vendors right back through to the conglomerates, all of you are conducting business. And when we look into the mirror, we have to be able to appreciate and respect that. But it is not only those who are up here that may not want to open up. It is those who are down here that don't see themselves equal to the task sometimes. And I know what it is as a young lawyer to have a client on Broad Street. Anybody with a business on Broad Street had to have appreciable sales and capacity, even if only to pay the rent. And when I asked, why are you not a member of the Chamber of Commerce? Them things ain't for me. That's for them other people. How we see ourselves matters. And I want to thank Coca-Cola and the National Transformation Initiative for allowing us to be able to build a bridge to allow for Bajan excellence, to create and shape a Star Bajan. Vic said it best when he said that regardless of how small a vendor is, the ability to understand how to get business, how to keep business, and how to grow business is critical. And sometimes the large enterprises of this world, run by accountants, do not see people, do not feel people, and do not hear people. I'm not talking about airlines, but you may well think so. And we live in a world where, because of automated responses and dialing and all of that, people feel marginalized and do not feel that their business matters to the persons with whom they're interacting. You, as a small business person, have therefore a unique advantage to make people feel special and to make people want to come back. This country has benefited from having the highest repeat factor for visitors for decades. And we haven't necessarily been flashy in how we do it, because Bajans are a little laid back and sometimes they wait and watch and see it. Whereas others will run and hug you, but when you're looking for them, you can't find them behind you. Bajans are for the long haul. And the most important phrase in this country is "we is we," because it senses and gives you the solidarity that that message wants to tell you, growing together. I want to remind us that government's responsibility, yes, is about creating the framework to nurture and to allow people to grow. We, as this government, accepted that the legislative framework that criminalized vendors was an inheritance that was too heavy a burden for an independent, modern republic to carry. That my grandfather in the 1950s was making that case for vendors as the Member of Parliament for the city of Bridgetown, begging for some place for vendors to operate without harassment and criminalization, that it continued into the 21st century, was one of the greatest shames of a post-independent Barbados. That this government has ensured that we don't carry it as a modern republic is one of the greatest accomplishments of a modern Barbados. The spectacle of people having to pick up their goods and run and lose them, and to be harassed and to lose a day's work by having to go into a magistrate's court, then to have their names besmirched with convictions that really only are an artifice imposed by man, not for faulty behavior, but for seeking merely to support a family. Those things were wrong, and thanks be to God, they are a thing now only of historic record. Our responsibility, having created the legislative framework, was also to ensure that where necessary funding is available. I can go on with the things that we've done to put capital in the hands of small businesses in this country. Infrastructure. You heard Alistair talk about coming down to Spring Garden on a Saturday morning. Prior to that, Alistair, where were you? cheek by jowl on the outside of Cheapside Market, forgotten for more than a decade. Rain come, every man jack start to run. God help you, what produce fall upon the ground, what don't fall upon the ground. And if you got little arthritis, oh Lord, you're in trouble. The government saw to it that we put an infrastructure in place, and that infrastructure must continue to be developed and maintained, and we are seeking to do it in other areas. We've done it in Fairchild Street. We ain't talk about it. The Butcher's Block, I hope, will soon be finished, because that will be a major accomplishment, because we recognize that the public health of the nation also matters. And when we leave there, we are doing River Bus Stand, as I told you. What they tell me is Georgetown and Kingstown. And we are also doing Temple Yard, because you could not have a replication of what happened with lack of access to water and electricity for people who are Bajans seeking simply to do their business and to live communally. Public conveniences, Pebbles right here by Cuz, given instructions for that to be built. And we can go around the island at different spaces where Bajans are getting the opportunity to be entrepreneurial. We're going to work with you. But where we will not work with people is where people want now to make what they're doing a public health risk. And that is why I want to partner to make sure that we choose the locations together so that they're acceptable. We give you the public conveniences, we give you the skips, but we need everybody to keep round them clean. And why? Because it's not only an eyesore to the beauty of our nation, but it is a public health risk to you. And of course, in addition to infrastructure, legislation, and funding, procurement, as I said, is critical, and the government has to show its way by being able to be truthful to its word with respect to decentralizing procurement in many instances and giving other people a chance. And what's the example that I want to share with you? One that most people don't even realize, and last night I had to speak to it again. A lot of people believe that the best thing in this world is to be an employee. And that's because of the colonial legacy that we inherited. But if you don't take risk, what the old time people tell you, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And if we want to build prosperity and pursue economic enfranchisement, then more of our people must be recognized and encouraging for taking the risk in doing business. And as you've heard, sometimes you will fail. But do not let that failure stop you. And this National Transformation Initiative, more than anything else, as I said at the beginning, is about what? Values and attitudes. And we get those right, everything else will come. Coca-Cola will turn up and agree to work with them to give you the skills now to deal with all kinds of fancy things. All kinds of accounting and planning and how to manage procurement and inventory management and, not true, Andre? All them things can come. But at the end of the day, Coca-Cola can't give you the drive. Coca-Cola can't give you the desire to take the risk. And these are the things that the citizenship module that the National Transformation Initiative has designed. And I've asked them to do an adaptation for primary school and for secondary school and for post-secondary, because nothing hurts us repeating it, because sometimes we need to be reminded of the things that matter. I want to discuss with the social partnership and the national insurance scheme the tie-in of benefits to the undertaking of the citizenship module in different forms and fashions. Because it is only when we are capable of understanding what is necessary to build this nation and to keep it prosperous and stable that we will make a difference. To the vendors, to the business people, to all of you, to the shop owners, I say to you, don't waste this opportunity. There are not many countries in the world, first and foremost, that make 15,000 courses free available to its population on Coursera. Use it. Use it. Our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents know that learning mattered. Knowledge matters. Skills matter. Similarly to this training that has been framed and dedicated to suit your capacity to continue your business, I say to you, use it. And as I said to every category of person in this country, I hear what you want, but understand what the government needs. We need all of us as citizens of Barbados, active citizenship, building this nation. It's not going to be done by the government alone. It's not going to be done by big business alone. It's not going to be done by vendors and small business alone. It's not going to be done by labor alone. It's not going to be done by civil society. But we can grow together to make this country, yes, Adrian, world-class, delivering values and service and attitudes from the smile in the face to the quality of the experience. Because when, regrettably, people leave us, as we say all the time, nobody talks about how much money they had. Nobody talks about a whole host of things, but they talk about how you made them feel and the experience that is human that cannot be replaced by AI in any manner, form, or fashion. So let us to the task go and make this country world class, but recognize that we can only do it by treating each other better and by doing better for each other by expanding our knowledge, our skills, and our ambition. Thank you, and God bless.
Well, this is an opportunity for small business operators to upskill, broaden knowledge bases, and grow together as we seek to provide greater service to one another and achieve greater economic franchisement. This has been Info Insight. I'm Miles Eversley. Thanks for your time.